There are four main reasons for using the hips: mass, retaining speed, reduced telegraphy, and reach. This is a Karate Zad video. If you find this video useful or interesting in any way, please like, share, and subscribe or follow. This will be a short video as it picks off directly after the previous video, training the Koshi on Zenkutsu-dachi. In summary, what happened in the previous video is that I went deep into the Koshi, the hips, and spoke about the reasons for using the Koshi in almost every technique. I then spoke on how to use the Koshi for Zenkutsu-dachi Chudansuki by breaking that down into two components, or group of pieces. The components are 1. The extending forward and the pulling back of the arm, that is the Tsuki or the punch, and 2. The rotation of the hips on Zenkutsu-dachi. I then further broke down the second component, rotation of hips on Zenkutsu-dachi, into smaller pieces, extension and rotation, then a third training to combine it, and a fourth training to perfect it. For now, we assume that the student is already proficient with the first component, the Tsuki or the punch. There will be another separate video on this on its own. And upon the previous video, the student have broadened the range of intuitive control to each component as a whole. Now we have to combine the components. Immediately attempting to combine the two components will involve too many new things for the practitioner to focus on. So instead of training to combine the two components, we first train to sequence the components. Sequence is to perform the second component after the first component with a pause in between. The pause is to not rush the student into making mistakes. Mistakes is likely to happen when two new techniques are now required to be performed one after another. Correctly performed training of less repetitions can still be progressive to the training, whereas wrongly performed training of more repetitions can be regressive. We can start by practicing it slow, then eventually fast. Once the body has gotten used to sequencing the components, the student can now train to connect them. This is where the punch still comes after the hips, but with flow. This is where the hip or mass momentum does not dissipate as it did previously. In other words, instead of having the arm to start its motion on its own, the momentum from the hip drives the arm to start. Then the motion is continued with the arm's own input. My suggestion for progression in this training is, first, slow. This is to get used to the flow. Then fast slow while keeping the arms loose all the way to the end. This is to feel the momentum of the hips driving the arms. And finally, fast. Here's a progression training method for the connect stage. Place both arms on the hikite position, then apply the koshiwaza without applying any force from the arm. Allow the arm to swing forward purely from the hip momentum. Make sure you feel this momentum flowing through from the hip to the arm. Then in your next repetitions, extend the arm slightly more and more, but only after the hips, adding momentum into the existing one. This is the flow. Then slowly add more power into it, clenching only at the end of the punch. You could do this with the lead hand as well, or the maete. The last step is to finally combine the components. Combining is where both components, the hip and the arm, starts at the same time and also ends at the same time. There is no further tips or tricks to this apart from practicing until the student becomes proficient while keeping in mind of the key points. Key points for Koshi waza or hip technique are correct stance structure, no change of feet position, ensure hip only yaws, not pitch nor roll, lock height, and lock the lead knee. All these are in the previous video. Key points on Tsuki or punches are drop the shoulders, ensure elbow points downwards, correct location of fist, correct hikite position, and grip on the first two knuckles only. This will be in the next KihonMechanics video. In the next video in this series, I will be talking about the straight punch. I'll be touching on why are karate's punches straight. I'll give a historical explanation, a mechanical explanation. I'll go into how to give a technical demonstration, going into the structure of the arm, and how to train it. I am Sensei Zed, and this is a Karate Zed video. If you felt that you have gained something out of this video, please give a like and share, especially to those whom you think might be interested. Subscribe on YouTube and follow on Facebook for updates.